So the strangest thing happened today. Justin Trudeau is testifying, or I guess rather has testified in kangaroo court. There is a public inquiry into election interference, specifically around China and the 2019-2021 elections. And Justin Trudeau slipped up something. It's very weird. Now, going into this, it's very, very clear that there was an objective, one single objective by Justin Trudeau and his team. Filibuster. For those who don't know what that is, I'll break it down. It's to waste time. Justin Trudeau had 75 minutes where he was allotted to actually testify in this kangaroo type of court on election interference. And in that 75 minutes, he spent 76 of them talking in circles. And I've got a bunch of clips pulled up from today's live stream. It's very difficult. And for those who did attend the live stream, who are going to now rewatch the clips, I apologize in advance. I'm really sorry. And for those who are watching the clips for the first time, you're so lucky you didn't watch the live stream. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage everyone to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. We're on route to 400,000 subscribers. The only way we're going to get there is if you guys, the community, come together and actually take the steps to subscribe. It's absolutely free to do, and it helps fight climate change, I think. So I heard, allegedly. Yeah, who cares? Justin Trudeau let out a little slip today. He, in the midst of every filibustering thing and every story and narrative that he went down to waste absolute, just atrocious amounts of time, he slipped up. And what he slipped up was when he was talking about the next election, the next federally scheduled election in 2025, he accidentally said, it's likely to come. It's likely. Now, I know that I'm going to have dinner tonight, right? I have food in the fridge. So if I'm talking to my wife or my family, I'm not going to say, well, when I have dinner, or rather when I likely have dinner. No, I'm going to say, I have dinner. It's scheduled. I've penciled it in. I know what's happening. And that's just dinner. I can change my mind on dinner. And there's no real repercussions except for maybe a little bit of hunger and starvation for a day, but that won't be the end of anyone's life. With the elections, it's set in stone. You can't just change things as you want. And maybe that wasn't the best analogy, but I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. It's very bizarre language for Justin Trudeau to have used when he's talking about the next scheduled federal election. Why would he say it the way he did? Now, maybe I'm looking into it. Maybe I'm looking a little bit into it. Maybe my brain just turned into mush after listening to him talk in circles for over an hour. But Justin Trudeau is very precise with words. I know he fills the gap a lot with ums and ahs, and I feel at times where I am a tremendously better speaker than Justin Trudeau, who has all of the resources at his disposal, yet can't really formulate a competent or coherent sentence. But that was a difference with how Justin Trudeau normally talks, and today is, even though he had lots of ums and ahs, his speech was different. You're going to take a look today at these clips in this video that I have prepared for you guys, how different Justin Trudeau was today. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
Foreign interference in particular communities, and we wanted to know about particular individuals that we had heard things about, and understand what landscape we were actually walking into, because we suddenly had access to a very sophisticated and excellent national security apparatus that when one is a simple opposition politician you don't have access to. Ended up putting a significant amount of strain on our relationship, because it was a massive irritant to China that everyone kept talking about these two Michaels, even when they didn't have anything to do with Canada. We heard it regularly, but that was what we continue to do. Saw the president of China, Xi Jinping, at the opening ceremonies. I mentioned to him that I needed China to stop interfering in Canadian democratic processes, because that was very much something that people were very concerned about back home at that particular moment.
Now, Trudeau said a lot in this video. Trudeau said a lot in the live stream in his testimony. But one of the key things that he was talking about was buses. At least that's what stood out in my brain, was Chinese buses, or rather people of Chinese descent on buses that were paid by China to go and interfere and support local elections. Here's what Trudeau had to say about this.
Okay, so they had plans or an intent or a capacity to do this. Do we know that they did? Did you hear from CSIS and the security agencies that this was actually done? They weren't entirely certain. There was reasons to believe that perhaps it has, and perhaps the indication was that there were buses filled with Chinese speakers at that nomination contest.
China speakers?
Buses to be mobilized particularly in contested nominations of community organizations, student groups, a particular seniors residents could bring a minibus full of seniors to participate in a nomination contest. So just the existence of buses wasn't enough.
What the fuck?
Buses with Chinese speakers or Mandarin speakers in them wasn't enough to be itself alarming or a condemnation, but there were clear indications that there were concerns by CSIS that China might have been behind this, and that those students or those individuals on the bus might have been motivated or mobilized to vote in that way, and there were concerns that CSIS had. The extent to which they were certain that China was indeed behind the mobilizing of the bus or buses. And I also asked whether or not CSIS had information that Han Dong knew about this, whether he was witting and aware that China had mobilized, or Chinese officials had mobilized buses for him or not. And the answers were not clear from CSIS at that point.
As time went on throughout this testimony, I'm going to admit, I'll be the first to admit, I started to lose my mind. I went a little bit crazy, and I'm still feeling the lingering effects of this. Here's a few clips to show how crazy it made me.
Mr.
Oh
Broadhurst
my
told me.
God!
I then...
What is he even saying?
If it was a close nomination, if there was
Am
a
I
sense that the
fucking
actual
stupid?
result of the nomination could
Or
be
is he
affected
stupid?
by this bus or buses or what was there, and that wasn't clear at all. CSIS didn't have any conclusions to share at that point.
Oh my God!
Mr. Broadhurst,
I'm gonna go take a piss.
What are you able to do? Where does
Not
this
because I
leave a
have
political
to.
party receiving
Because
this
I'm that
information?
bored. I'm gonna force a piss out of myself. I will be right back.
well, it meant that
Am I
74079, sorry.
I don't understand anything of what Justin Trudeau has said, other than there's buses and there's Chinese people on buses.
4079.
And that was like an hour ago. What the fuck is happening?
I was reminded of the old story of some FBI
Who cares?
questioning a witness in a
I was reminded of a summer evening back in 1973.
in LA?
I remember it like it was
I can't
yesterday.
comment. Did you meet with that mobster in Detroit?
I was in the
can't comment.
grass.
Did you meet with that
And there was a
mobster in
concert.
Miami? No, I
And my
definitely
father
did
just
not.
flew from Cuba.
He's sometimes in denying.
See, who the
something or
fuck
giving
cares if I'm
information
talking
that
over him?
doesn't
He's not
well.
saying anything!
My preoccupation and why these
Nobody
were
cares!
deep concern.
What the fuck are we doing?
We couldn't actually correct the record.
Who the fuck cares if I'm yelling over Trudeau? By the time I'm done talking, you still won't know what the fuck he's talking about because it's not making any sense.
Sources relied upon by our security agencies to keep Canadians and our institutions safe without putting them at risk.
He's still talking about the summer of 1973.
Adversaries, some of the information or the methods that we use to keep Canadians safe. And that's part of the reason for the complex nature of a public
What the fuck is happening?
inquiry into issues.
I'm losing my mind, Chad!
Certain things, or if we contradict
Oh
or deny
my
other things, we should be giving our adversaries tools to actually understand how we go about detecting their interference or illicit ways of engaging to harm Canadians.
And then here's the clip. Here's the moment that I caught Justin Trudeau accidentally saying the truth of what the next scheduled federal election is likely or not likely to be or happen. I don't even know what words mean anymore. I'm sorry if I'm coming off as a little bit crazy, but if you sat through this testimony, you might also share some of that craziness. Here's the clip.
To address sort of strategic threats on a larger level. We're continuing to give more tools and powers and learning from what the P5 was able to do in 2019 and 2021 that they'll be able to apply in the 2025 election when it's likely to come. There is always more to do.
Why did he say it that way?
I'm very much looking forward to
the 2025 election when it's likely to come?
This commission is doing is to make recommendations on how we can strengthen even further.
Hold on. I'm going to pause that. Am I the only one that caught that when he said the 2025 election when it's likely to come? I don't know if I'm looking into that. I'll be honest, I've been in and out of paying attention for the past hour. My brain is fucking melted. I feel as dumb as I have ever felt in my entire life. But why did he say it that way? With the next federal scheduled election, 2025, when it's likely to come. Am I chat? Can you guys give me some confirmation bias or tell me I'm an idiot? Either one, I'll accept. That just seems like he knows something. That's what somebody would say when they want people to have false hope of like, oh yeah, it's likely to happen. Oh yeah, for sure, buddy. I don't know. Maybe my brain is melted, but that just seemed weird. Justin Trudeau really has an uphill battle until the next likely scheduled federal election. There's a lot of bills, a lot of policies, a lot of more harm that Trudeau wants to do to Canada, to Canadians, and just our entire economy here. And one of those things is censorship. He's already done, I guess, a half-decent job, according to himself, of censoring the internet for the news. It's really, really hard to find Canadian news, especially on social media. You've seen a ban across Meta and affiliated products, and I don't know if they've actually tried, if they've attempted to try, or if they've just talked about trying, or if it's rumors, but with Google, which means YouTube, right? Because they're an affiliated product of Google. And well, it's not just me that's saying this. It's not just other YouTubers that's saying this. It's not just the Conservative Party of Canada that's worried about censorship. You also have Americans. And for instance, let's take a look right now. Forbes breaking news, almost 3 million subscribers. Americans are also afraid of free speech being under attack in Canada. This is insane. This has reached new levels when you have American folks that are talking about how dangerous this is for Canada.
When it comes to free speech, Canada is becoming the Cuba of the North. Hello, I'm Steve Forbes, and this is What's Ahead, where you get the insights you need to better navigate these turbulent times. Freedom of speech is a bedrock right for Americans. It is guaranteed in the First Amendment of our Constitution. We tend to think other democracies enjoy the same privilege. Think again. The First Amendment is truly unique to us. Just look at our neighbor to the north, Canada. There, free speech is under Cuban-like assault. If the government of leftist Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has its way, not only will your right to write and speak what's on your mind be severely restricted, but also the government can jail you if it suspects you might say something that is unlawful. You heard that right. The mere suspicion that you might mouth or write words or phrases that the government deems to be unlawful is grounds to arrest you. Who could have imagined that what George Orwell labeled thought crimes in his classic novel 1984 about nightmarish life in a totalitarian world would be pursued by Canada of all places? Ostensibly, Canada protects free speech in what it calls, quote, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, end quote, which is part of the Canadian Constitution. In the Charter, quote, freedom of expression, end quote, is indeed guaranteed. But then comes the killer qualifier, as long as it remains, quote, within reasonable limits, end quote. You could drive a convoy of dump trucks through that loophole, and Canada's national and local governments have done just that. Over the years, people expressing politically incorrect observations have suffered serious legal assaults by government. Trudeau's new bill targets so-called hate speech on the internet. Anyone could file a complaint against someone or a business. The targeted individual.
Yeah, and it's just going to get worse. And the closer we get to this likely federal scheduled election, the scarier it becomes, or as Trudeau likes to say, sunny ways. But I'd like to pass the question off to you. Are you worried about censorship? Are you worried about free speech being taken away? You've already seen a massive crackdown over the past few years by Justin Trudeau and his communist dictator liberal government, and I think it's only going to get worse. They've already changed the way you can legally protest in Canada. They're changing laws as it goes. It's almost like when you're playing a game against somebody and they're losing, and all of a sudden they're making up the rules as they go along. It's called being a sore loser, or in this case, it's called being a liberal. That's where we're going to end today's video, folks. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Did you watch the testimony live, or did you have the pleasure of just watching the highlights? Please let me know down below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to smash the like button on your way out if you haven't yet already. Hope you consider subscribing, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.